All right, guys. So we are building a login and registration app, not using Dapper, um, and also not hashing passwords quite yet. But let's go ahead and start up a project with Candyman. Yo, Candyman, um, log reg demo. Yo, Candyman log reg demo. Cool. Bootstrap. Yes. Cool. So there we go. Logreg demo. Drag it into my C Visual Studio Code. Start it up. Expand my page. Okay. Cool. Yes. Restore. All right. So let's take a look at project.json. Looks like we got some good stuff in there. What? What is this? Did I not? Oh, I did restore. Okay. And startup.cs. Cool. All right, so I will need to connect my database because I'm going to be storing these users in my DB. So let's go ahead, and if you haven't started up your MAMP, go ahead and start up MAMP. Open up MySQL Workbench. I'm just going to create a schema real quick. Call it logreg. Apply. Go back. Close. Cool. So now I have a logreg schema here. I don't have any tables in here yet, so I'm going to create a table called users. Users will have an ID. User ID. And by the way, if you guys aren't, what is it called? Pascal casing, not camel casing, where you're uppercasing the first letters of each word. You could start doing that. It's just C#. Good practice to do that.
Make it bigger.
Sure. Actually, I can't. Yeah.
Don't you love?
Huh? Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'll make everything else larger, but unfortunately, I can't do this. It's just first name, last name, email, password. And maybe created at. Awesome.
User ID camel case.
Yeah, might as well make it consistent across the schema. Go back, close. Cool. So now I have a table called users, and there are some columns in there. Cool. So I don't have any users yet, but this is my table down here, if you guys can see. Cool. So how do I connect my MySQL DB to my project? Well, we have this pretty neat DB connector file right here. But I'll need a dependency first.
Are we using updated at created at?
If you want, it's always good practice to have updated at and created ats. I just did a created at because I'm not going to be updating any users. Where am I going? Project.json. Cool. Restore after I update my project.json. I'm just including my MySQL dependency here. Cool. And then now I can just create this class of DB connector. Do you guys want to go through the process of making a secure connection string?
Yes, please. Are we expected to do that on the block belt?
With the black belt, you won't be using this MyDB connector file probably. So it's good practice to know though. So we'll just talk about it. Cool. So I've included MySQL as a dependency. I have this DB connector file. I can just now call my DB connector class from my controller if it shares the same namespace, which it does not right now. What is my namespace? Logregdemo.
You can do that or use the namespace of the database connection, right?
Yes, and then have a using statement at the top. You could do that, yes, absolutely.
What do you call your controller?
I don't have one yet, but probably users because it deals with the users model. Cool. So if I need to secure my MySQL connection string so the public doesn't have access to my password and my username and all that good stuff, and if my internet works, I need an app settings.json. Those are cool. Stand by. I have the worst luck with demos. Cool. I'm just gonna fly through this and you guys can watch and maybe slow it down in the huh? Store. Need this constructor function in my startup class, which means that I need to.
Where do you put it in the?
What's that?
In your startup, what part do you put that in? Right after.
At the top of your class is good. I like to have my constructor functions at the top so I know what's happening when it gets created. I'm going to need a couple more using statements. And then I need to add my MySQL options class, which I don't currently have yet, but I will have soon. So by convention, this goes in a properties directory. So I'll create a properties directory with a new file called MySQL options.cs, where my code will go, and my namespace is logregdemo. So now go away. Okay. Perfect. Now in my DB connector class, I can get rid of all of this stuff and instead fetch it from my app settings.json. After I have a using statement, I can get rid of these.
Posting your code file.
This?
Just because I find when I was watching the video, you scroll up and down really fast.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to blaze through this pretty fast, but yes, sure. Cool.
Posting the code would be really helpful just to see it all.
Sure. Last scope my DB connector so that I can just call on DB connector directly from within my controller, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. Boop, 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 boop. Users. All right, I think we're good. Let's change this. Which means I need to change this. Cool. Shall I hold on or wait a quick second?
If we didn't get that 100%, will it?
Yes, it will break. Yeah,
Just
your
gonna
computer will
wait.
blow up. Sorry, I went through that pretty quick because I want the meat of this demo to be in the actual login reg portion. If you guys don't want to do the secure connection string, then really all you have to do is add this dependency and copy and paste this class into your file. And oh shoot, actually I don't think I am connected because my app settings.json does not have the correct information in it. Logreg. Okay, now I'm connected. Okay, so all right. Yeah. One sec. Cool. So I'm sure most of you guys know that IntelliSense has a weird error where sometimes it'll say that you're using the controller name already or a method name already when you're not. If that's the case, just restart. Cool. So my server's up and running. I'm connected. I'm serving my view here called index. So if I go to index.cshtml, which should be in my users view here, perfect. Let's go ahead and change some of this. Register. Log in. Let's have a form whose method will be post. Action will be register. This one will be login. This one will have a label for fname. With an input for fname. Name is important. First name. What do we know about this name field and why is it important?
It's to match exactly to the field in your database.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it is. Any questions so far? I'm just kind of HTMLing right now.
Do you even need to put ID?
Nope, but ID will link your label to your input. So that's why my fors and my IDs match. That's all they're for.
And what happens when your ID is linked to your label?
I will show you in one quick second. Nothing magical, just a little bit of additional UI on your front end. And then a submits. Value submits. Let's make it look pretty. btn success. Cool. So I'm gonna take these two, which should be the same in login, and input type submit value login class btn success. Cool.
Can you just wait 1 second?
Yeah. .NET run. Refresh. Put some break tags in.
So, is it just me, or is .NET really slow?
Maybe on the first time, because it's compiling. But after the first time, if there are no changes, it should be super fast. Yes. See there? Or, I guess, yeah. Cool. So what the label, the for attribute in the label tag and the ID attribute in the input tag do is if I click on this text of first name, it just highlights the field. So they're like linked to certain, you know, labels. But that's literally all it does. You don't need them, but it's good practice, HTML standards to do so.
Can you? I just want to see your button.
This button here,
How do
or
you know
my.
what class to put it on? Is there like a bootstrap?
This is just Bootstrap, or these are just Bootstrap
How
classes.
do you find what their classes are, or how do you change them?
I can change it to like success, like info, not info, and then it'll change like to a different color. Or I could do like
If you
danger,
wanted it to
which is a different.
If you wanted
color.
to change what's in those, you can't
Change what?
change like what color danger would be.
You can override it. Bootstrap is literally all it is. They're just static files of CSS and JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
That's literally all they are. So if you have an ID that you've called btn-success, then that would overwrite Bootstrap's
So
button
if I put
success.
that in the CSS style sheet.
If you have your own custom style sheet, then you can overwrite it. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. So all of our HTML is built. Now we can actually do some of the fun stuff. Currently, I have my register form routing to a method of post and a route of register. So let's go ahead and create that route. This is a post routes register. It's called register. Cool. All right. What should we do now, guys?
Are you going to create a custom class for the user object?
Good call, Jeff. Let's do that. I'll need a models folder for that to store my model classes in. New file. User. We don't need factories quite yet. Cool. So, shall I attach some validations while we're at it?
Yeah.
Yes. How do we do that? Here we go. We're using users. Yes, actually.
Cool.
Log reg demo.
So does it just like already generate an error message when you put those in required brackets?
It does, but you can overwrite them because some of the default error messages are like ugly. They have like weird special characters in there where there shouldn't be. So you can overwrite them.
How?
I think it's like. Does anyone remember? Is it like comma error message?
Depends on what it is. Yeah,
I think you can
message
just
equals quotes and then whatever message.
and then you can do like, this is wrong, man, or whatever you want.
You suck, why are you even trying?
Oh, that's not nice. But you could if you wanted to.
And for required, you can just put it in parentheses. You don't need.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess some of them are even easier. Yeah. That's just a quick Google search away, so if we want to do that, we can do that. But cool, let's do some... I think it's rude to have a minimum length on a first name, because I know some people with like 2-letter first names. Right?
Any characters.
No characters?
I'm just like that could be the validation that it has characters.
Oh, like required? Yeah, for sure. First name, last name, email, password. Is that all we have in our database?
Yeah.
Okay, but we might want to compare because we have a password confirmation field, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that?
Compare attribute password.
So public string password confirmation. Okay, so I have that much. But you're saying that I need to attach some data annotations to it called compare, the compare attribute. And
parentheses, whatever your field is you're comparing to. So
my password.
In quotes.
And then?
If you want a custom error message after that, you can. But you don't have to.
Probably won't have to be required as well.
Sure. error message, let's say password and password confirmation must match. Cool. Is that it? Any other validations that you guys want to throw on this? No? Cool. So now that we have this model, how can I quickly validate whether or not my form, my form inputs match or satisfy my validation requirements?
Can't you do it with an as comment?
What's that?
You do it with an as comment.
As?
So in the post route,
Uh-huh.
the data comes in as a user.
Yes, we can definitely do that. I don't think we need an as keyword, but what you described is exactly what we'll be doing. Is our route will be accepting an actual instance of the user model,
Right.
so it will run those validations against it. So user, let's say user, right? Otherwise, I need to import or use.
Wait, so what does that do?
So this does two things. One, it will map. So that's an important word. We'll be using a lot of that once we get into ORMs. But it will map the names of my input fields in my form. It will map them to the fields I have defined in my model. So it'll find, okay, first name. It's going to map it to first name. And then it'll run these data annotations on them. Last name, it'll map it to last name and then run these data annotations on them. Does that make sense?
Which is why he wanted to make sure the names were exactly the same.
Yes. So one, it does that for us, and then it builds this user object that we can call whatever, right? So now whatever is an instance of the user class, right? So we could have done this the long way, where we're literally passing in individual values from our form, so like string first name, and so on and so forth, and then we could build a user type user whatever equals a new user, and then we could build an object using these values that were passed in through the route. But instead of doing that, we can just pass in the actual object itself, and then it will.
And then that only works though if all the categories in what's being passed in matches up with the user model, right?
It will still work even if they don't match up, but the fields that it couldn't match up, it'll be set to null. So let's say I made a typo, and in my index I did like last name. Then my field for last name will just not have anything mapped to it. It'll just be null.
So by passing it in, you don't. It just basically creates it there,
It builds the object for you is one
Yeah.
thing.
and
And
then
then-
it names it or associates it.
Yes. Well, it just builds a user object with the right key pair
Yeah.
values
so it's
inside the
basically
object.
saving us a couple lines of code.
It saves you a lot of lines of code. If you're thinking about, let's say this
Oh.
user field doesn't have 5 fields, maybe
Yeah.
it has 50. Then what we would have to do is pass
Put
in
all
every
of it.
single whatever
Oh,
in
that's right.
here, and then build the object down here, which could be like upwards of n lines, right? 50 lines, right? So this saves us a lot of lines, but it also does one other thing. It runs the try validate model method. So it actually runs our data annotations. So if we take a look at this is what we would have had to do, right? We would have had to build a new user and assign each field of that user whatever value was passed in through the method. And we would have to run this try validate model on this object to run our validations, right? But by passing, oh, like here, this is perfect. String name, string email, string password. Okay, we're going to build a new user. Name equals name, email equals email, password equals password, and then we're going to try to validate our new user. If there are errors in our model state, we'll catch that. If there are no errors in our model state, we'll tell us that our object is valid, and then we can do logic accordingly. So Cool. So we're passing in the object user. So the last thing we just talked about was that it runs this try validate model. What does that method create for us?
A list of errors, if there are any.
Yes, which the list of errors are being held in this values attribute of our model state. So it creates a model state for us. So not only does it hold our errors if there are any errors, but it will tell us if, hey, there are no errors. So we can say if model state dot is valid, gets a value that indicates whether any model state values in this model, well, we can read more about it, is valid or not validated, is valid. So this will return a Boolean. Then let's console.writeLine. Everything is good. Whoops. Print that 3 times. Else meaning what? That something
It's not valid.
is not valid.
So return your
We'll just do some quick consoles for now. Cool. So let's
Do you want to
restart.
do a for each so that we can see which errors they were?
We will absolutely do that. Yes. I just want to see some printed lines first. So console.writeLine, restart here. Reload my page. If I... Oh, shoot. The register was not found. Register. Post. Register.
slash.
Post. I don't need a slash. What the heck?
It's supposed to be in all caps.
HTTP post. Route by action result. Register. Oh, the view. Sorry. I read the error wrong. So it's trying to, the view register was not found. Because by default, what will your return view look for?
Whatever
Name of
the
your method.
The name of the method, exactly right. I don't have a register view, so I'm just going to return redirect to action the index method. Cool. So let's try that again.
couldn't you just have rendered an index?
We could. I like to stay away from having my post methods render anything. I'll probably end up having to do that later in this demo, though. So, but just keep that in mind. It's not good practice.
Having multiple
Posts made, exactly, on refresh. Cool. So let's try that again. Register. Okay. Let's take a look. Errors. What if I include some information and register? Errors again. But let's say I do everything good this time. I'll just do ASDF, and then I register. Everything is good. Cool.
Did we not need a password length validation?
We can have a password length validation.
How would you put that in?
How
Just put it like
we would just have like a length requirement right here.
Oh, you can add more.
Oh yeah, you can add as many as you want. So you can take a look at these here. If you take a look at these data annotations, you can have a range, you can have a compare method, you could even ask what data type it is, min length, max length, all of that stuff.
So since password confirmation is comparing itself to password, do you only need a min length on password and not password confirmation?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can actually do regex on that too, right?
You could, yeah. There's a regex data annotation right here. If you know how to write regex, which I don't really know how to do. Cool. So hopping back to our users controller. So if model state is valid, we'll do what?
We want to put it in the
Right.
database.
Save our user to the database, exactly. Write it to our database, and then maybe return a success page. Else, if it's not valid, then what do we want to do?
Pack
Go
the
back
errors.
to index.
Pack the errors in like a view bag, and then maybe return back to the index, right? So let's do that first. That seems easier. We'll
Yeah,
do-
put it in the session
If we want to redirect,
since you're redirecting.
yeah, we can do that. Or I can just do what you told me to do earlier, which is
That's problematic for other reasons.
it is problematic for other reasons. All right, let's do session.
Why is it problematic to return it to the view?
because then your view is expecting certain. Let's show why it's problematic. Yeah. So viewbag dot reg errors equals model state. Again, our errors are being held in our model state. Model state dot values. Cool. So and then we can return view. Cool. Return view index. Which means that we need to loop through our errors. Cool. So now, this is why it's problematic. Now we have a for loop, right? So we're saying for each var error in viewbag.errors, do something, right? Now, when I load my index.cshtml for the first time, when I started my server and I hit my index route, do I have a viewbag.errors? So
Can
then
you just instantiate it?
you could, yes, you could absolutely do that. So what would happen is that you would get some type of like reference on a null value error because you're trying to run stuff on something that's null.
Yeah.
So what we could do to alleviate that is to just instantiate like a new like iterable list that's actually nothing. Yeah, exactly. So this will be like a new list of strings. Like this is nothing, right? But now we have an iterable item that isn't anything really that's being stored in this view bag. So this loop here won't break.
I thought one of the problems with having a post return of view was if the end user ended up mashing submit
Refreshing.
multiple times.
Yeah.
They could resend the data multiple times. So like a credit card could be charged 2 or 3 times.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. So if on success, we returned a view on a post route, then you could absolutely have the user successfully make post requests to your database multiple times on a refresh. If all we're doing is rendering errors, then
It's not a big
what are you
deal.
doing? You're just having the user just render errors multiple times. Yeah.
Do you need to change that to be viewbag.regers?
Sorry?
Do you change your index?
Yes, thank you. Let's take a look at that now. Cool. So refresh. Okay, register. Yay. Now we have some errors. So you can see kind of some of the weird things is like the last name field. It like brings the actual string literal of what I named the field. But you don't want it to really look like that, right? You might want a space here. You might want a space here. So you could create custom messages for that if you wanted to. But cool, our validations are working. Let's hope that everything. Oops. If everything is good, we just redirect to the page with no errors. Cool? So now let's write some success stuff. If the model state is valid, what do I want to do? Create a new user. Cool. So I need to build a query string, right? So string equals string query string equals a string, and eventually what I'll do is using my DB connector dot executes this query string. Right? Does everyone see what's happening in these two lines right here? Cool. So query string, right now this db connector.execute is executing an empty string. So what I need to do in there is write raw actual real SQL. So what I always like to do, and I would maybe recommend this for you guys, is to just play in your workbench because you have this awesome GUI. Not really that awesome because it's super buggy, but kind of a nice awesome GUI to test SQL in. So let's just test an insert statement. Insert into users here the values of this. So what are my fields?
First name, last name, email, password.
Can't see. First name, last name, email, password, created. Awesome, thank you. And then values will be, let's say, Anne?
Say Batman.
Said Batman.
Batman. What's Batman's last name?
Wayne.
That's not Batman's last name.
I don't think Batman has a
We
last
should do
name.
Bruce then.
Bruce.
Oh, shoot.
Is man his last name?
Bruce Batman Wayne.
There you go.
His middle name.
Bruce Wayne at
Batman. First name B.
the
The real.
real Batman. I know, right? Now we all know at dccomics.com. Cool. And his password will be.
Joker sucks.
Okay, I was gonna say Superman sucks, but Joker sucks. Joker sucks. And his date time will be now. Oops. Cool. And then if we were to execute this line of code, everything works because I see that down here it gave me a green check, my insert blah blah blah, one row affected. So I'm just gonna copy this. Make sure that actually saved. Cool, there it is. I'm gonna copy this and then into my SQL here or into my query string here, I'm just gonna paste that guy right in, right? Now we know that our query works. All that's left is just to populate these actual raw strings with what's being held inside my user object. So let's not at symbol, because that'll be actually actually we could do that, but let's do this to make it a little bit more explicit.
So my thingy always gets mad at me when I use little single tick string. What does that mean?
Single
String
ticks.
literal, right?
It just means a string literal, but because we're using these outside quotes here, what's being stored in these inner quotes is just going to be single quotes. Sometimes when you're unpacking dictionary objects and using the key pair value to unpack a dictionary object, you have to use double quotes, which is weird.
In which case you would switch the outer ones to single quotes.
Exactly. Cool. So, gonna do some string interpolation here. What goes in here? User dot first name.
First name.
What goes in here?
So why
User
wouldn't you use as if all one?
dot. We just haven't covered that yet as a class, so I'm just gonna avoid it. Yeah. User
Last name.
dot last name.
Wait, don't you want it to how you wrote it on the form?
What's that?
Do you not put in? I thought you put in like F name because that's what you wrote on the form. Oh wait, never mind. You passed it in that way. Jake.
I did. Yeah, I did pass it in through here, and now because I've passed it in through this model binding, those attributes are tied to my model.
Okay.
So now I have to do user dot, right?
And do you want password confirmation or password?
I guess they're both exactly the same, but password will be pretty clear. Eventually, we'll get to password hashing. Not today, but when we do, we'll probably do some like hashing action up here, right? And then user.password will be hashed.
Password or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's like 2 lines of code.
Is there like salting with it too?
That's what happens. But we're not using bcrypt, so I don't know what type of encryption method that the
You could include bcrypt.
you could include bcrypt and use bcrypt too. Yeah, but we'll be using the identity suite, which is what Microsoft uses heavily for all of their encryption stuff. And I actually don't know what's under the hood in that. I just know that it hashes my password nicely. But
Cool.
yeah, we'll get to that more tomorrow. Anyways, we're creating this user. My insert statement is exactly the same as I had in my SQL query up here, but I've just kind of put in some variables here.
Would you want to put an if statement to make sure that the user doesn't already exist?
You could do that if you want to query the database like based on their email or something like that.
Yeah, just to make sure that you're not duplicating a record.
Check that bug right there. That's gross.
Ew, that's a stink bug.
Yeah, that's nasty. Sorry. You could do that. Yeah, I won't.
Feet in the right side of
Yeah.
the light. It's about. See?
All right. So we have this query string. Upon success, I want to return a view, or actually, again, we shouldn't redirect it. We shouldn't return a view upon a success of a post request. So I'm going to return redirect to action success, which we don't have yet, but basically all it's going to do is load up a success page
So pretty much always redirect when using post.
on a successful post. Yeah.
Successful post.
What did I say?
Be
Oh, this would be a get. Yeah. Success. Success. I don't need this. Turn it here.
Couldn't just kind of redirect to emails.
He wants to
I wanna see a success page. Yeah. New file success.cshtml. Move that guy back here. Oops. Cool. Just take this. Cool. So let's try this out.
throw that user object into session and then
Yeah, for sure. And then query it on the success
Query it on the
method.
success.
Yeah.
so you'd have to serialize it as a JSON object.
So the success that CHTML is using the template, the viewport as a base template.
All views do that. Every single view from your views folder gets,
I think it's under share.
yeah. Here we go.
Above user.
Or the user.
Sorry, yeah,
as a
layout.
template.
Yeah.
If it is one.
So all of these templates get rendered into that render body statement. Let's see.
But this is something that the Candyman created, right?
Correct.
Cool.
Because I didn't set it up correctly.
Oh, so now I see why you were against the
Totally
three-letter
new password
minimum
now.
for last names.
Oh yeah. Register. Yay, success. Yay, here I am. Cool. So, what should we work on now? Login?
Login.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
Absolutely.
Let's have a... I'm just going to copy this. But instead, we'll call it login.
Couldn't you still bring it as the user object? It would just have empty fields.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But we have two things that we're bringing in. Just the email and the stream.
Right.
Yeah. I think that would be more work in this case. But you could.
Well, you're going to want to do that validation on it anyway.
Validations of,
Well, whatever it is.
like the email?
Well, validation of the email. I guess you've already done that in your HTML. But
Well,
Yeah.
you're really just validating that it's in the database
Yeah.
at that point, right?
Yeah. I can just
If
bring
it's
these.
not a valid email, it won't be in the database.
Yeah.
no, but they might be trying to use a username instead of their email, in which case you would want to throw a different error. Or might they have to use their email instead of their username.
They don't have a username.
Or their first name, or
Yeah.
saying a reason why they might enter a value there that wasn't a valid email.
Yeah. I think for whatever bad combination we get, whether it's like a username instead of an email, or whether it's an email that doesn't exist, or whether the password's empty, or the password's not correct, whatever it is, I'm just going to spit back a single message that, like, your login credentials were garbage. That's what I'm going to spit that out. Yeah. So my login route takes in email and password, which I've defined email and password here. What should I try to do?
Search the database, see if they exist.
Yeah, pull a user from my database with that email, right? So again, what I'll probably do here is select all from users where email equals, let's say, Dan at codingdojo.com. And if I run this, I get this user back, right? If I run like something that doesn't exist, I'll get nothing back, right? So I'm gonna again take this and build a string of query. Put that in there. Get rid of this, and instead here do that.
Won't that return a list of users?
This will return a list of users unless I tell my code not to. If I just want to bring back a single dictionary, I can do that. So let's do that. So I think what you're getting at is, if I run this query, won't it return a list of dictionary objects? And yes, you're right, because if we take a look, like in this line of code, right? Let's just take this as an example because it's pretty close to what we want to do. If we query our query string, like so, what's wrong? What?
Isn't yours like underscore?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. That's what you get for copy and pasting. DB. Yeah. Then, yes, I will be getting a list of users. If I'm getting if I'm getting a single user, then how many dictionaries will my list contain? Just one. If this query actually brings back nothing because what the input of email that was given was not a valid email, what would my query return? Zero? Or nothing, right? It would still return a dictionary, an empty dictionary. Yeah. So instead of doing that, maybe I don't want.
But if the query matched multiple emails,
then it would return a list. Yeah, for sure. But I don't want a list. I just want a single dictionary. This is returning by default a dictionary. So instead, what I can do here is do some link stuff from way back when. Dot single or default. So I'll need to use link. And then we'll call this my user. Right? So now my user holds either one, a single dictionary of the correct user, or two, what is the default?
Nothing.
Null. Yeah. Cool.
Where do you put in validation to make sure people don't sign in with the same email?
You would probably make that check right up here. And then you know how Dylan was talking about having different filters?
Yeah.
You could create a filter called check if user exists, where you check the database to see if.
where you basically do that exact same thing that you did right there.
Exactly.
You could return nothing, but you create a user. Otherwise, you return an error. User already exists.
Or you could cheat and just look by ID or something.
Where's over there? I pay marketing on the street now. Look.
All right. So, okay, cool. Now we have a my user object. So we can do something like what?
If my user dot password.
If my user object does not equal null, right? Because we're hoping that it brought back something, and there might be some other checks we want to make. Oh.
See if the password's the same.
Yes. We want to first check if the password was even inputted. And password, so this what was brought in through the field. So if someone didn't just like do this and then click login, and if password does not equal null.
Would it be null or would it be an empty string?
Null. And we will check in here in this if statement to see if, again, my user bracket password. Yes, we had some weird bugs with that before. I don't think dot password will work because, yep. Dot notation is used to unpack objects. Bracket notation is used to unpack dictionaries. And with double quotes. What did I say? Password? If that equals password. So the reason that I wrapped this if statement in this if statement is because this could be null and this could be null, and I'll be referencing null values, and that will throw me an error. Why is this throwing me? Cast the left-hand side to type string.
If it's an object.
Oh, yes, you're right. Thanks. Yeah, because this dictionary is a string object dictionary. Yeah. So if they match, then I have good things, right? Else, this is bad, right? So for good, what am I doing? Oh, yeah.
Success.
We can do that, but we'll start with the easy stuff first. Yeah, just redirect to success, right? Maybe we can like retrieve. Whoops, that's Korean. Retrieve via session we should have saved. Cool. This is bad. So what will happen here? Fill a view bag called log error with a string that says invalid combination. Cool. And then I'll be returning a view, and this goes back to kind of the problem that Jeff pointed out earlier. If we're returning a view, our view is expecting a list of something to iterate through here. In this case, we're not passing anything through here, so we have to do the same kind of like BS, give an empty list stuff that we did earlier here. Which also means that if I'm going to be rendering a p tag, a p tag of at viewbag dot log error here. Actually, can I just do an if statement up there? No, let's just do it this way. Then also in all of the things that load my return view index, like here, I have to pass an empty string. So just to save that, or just to make sure that it doesn't break. So Jeff, you were saying what would be a great way to not have to do this? Put it in a session, and then just always redirect to this route, and then unpack your sessions here. Yeah.
Wait, so your home route, can I see that again? Just
My
the
home route?
root?
Yeah.
So your-
So my home route, literally all it does is it returns the view of index, but anything that returns the view of index needs to pass in this view bag object because my template is expecting those view bag objects, right? So if I don't pass in both of these view bags on any time I'm rendering a view or returning the view index, I'll get an error saying that you're trying to reference a null value.
So it's on your index.html or CS.html, it's just at feedback.login.
Yep.
Does it do that in Razor? I thought you could render a null in Razor.
It'll come up as a null reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I thought
do
Razor would just step over it.
the view index and redirecting to action both refresh the page index.
It does.
So they both reload the page.
Yes, they're full HTTP request response cycles.
But you can't pass view bags through redirects.
You can't because that's a whole nother HTTP request and response
So
cycle.
the other way you could do it is
Yeah, you could. That's a form of session, actually.
What is the one that only lasts for a single use?
That's what Leah was saying, and that's temp data. And temp data is actually built off of session, and it's just a temporary session that expires after one redirect. Yeah.
Unless you tell it to persist.
Yes. I
There's a command for that.
think. Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played around with that. Anyways, let's test our login reg. I'm fairly certain that my success will work. Okay, great. I'm a little nervous about my validations because I don't know if... Okay, invalid combo. Invalid combo.
Put your actual email.
So on our belt, are you gonna want 2 different errors? For
Invalid
email
combo.
and password, or just one? Is one
It's
like
fine.
that?
One is fine because I'll be probably trying to break your login with both the email and the password. So as long as the validations are working, you're fine.
Isn't there some logic to you don't want to give people who are trying to crack someone's email and password what they're doing wrong?
Yeah.
What do you
Like-
mean?
Well,
So
if you
they
said
don't know
like
which one's wrong.
your email doesn't match an email in the database,
Yeah.
they know they need to change email, and then once they get the email, they can keep trying to password until they don't get a password error anymore. Versus if you just leave it vague and say it's invalid,
Uh-huh.
Just do
they
no.
don't know which one they're doing.
Oh, yes, yeah, totally. You would, if this was a full application, you would probably want to tell them what exactly was wrong. You also would probably want to keep persistent data across your page. So if I did like this, and I did like a bad email, or actually Chrome will make me give a good email. But like I had like a password that didn't match my password confirm. If I clicked register, hopefully it will give me the error, right? And all of these 3 fields would remain intact, but these 2 fields would clear. So there are a lot of UI things that you could kind of fit in. But as far as the black belt exam goes, you guys know that UI is the last thing that I'm looking for. I'm just looking for a functional. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Elise. Maybe
Rain on
Elise
my
is.
parade.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So I'm gonna close the video.